I know what you're saying, Alex. The headline of this video makes no sense. How could the fans, the diehard fans of the very brand that's going to put the entire oil industry out of business, or at the very least force them into the renewable energy business, how could the fans of that brand be helping them at the same time? Well, they're not doing it on purpose, but they're doing it, and I think it's a problem. I'm going to be joined by Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure, one of the official Tesla clubs, and the creator of Starman, in just 1 second to talk about it and keep me honest, as he always does. He is probably one of the biggest Tesla fans that I know, so I know his perspective will help. Elon is joined by a few other contributors now on this channel for their monthly segments that include the CEO of Faraday Future, Carsten Breitfeld, Sandy Monroe, that is always popular, no matter if you're a Tesla fan or electric car fan or even just a regular gas car fan, and of course Rich Rebuilds, and you guys are familiar with Rich, so they're here every month. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, any of these great contributors is a great reason to do so. So click on the subscribe button and a bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so before I bring in Eli, you know, as you guys probably know, I was one of the original Tesla fanboys. I got a Tesla when it was still a big risk at that time in 2012. Tesla really looked like they could go to bankruptcy, so it was big risk. And at that time, when you were a Tesla fanboy, you were also an electric car fanboy, because essentially Tesla was the only real electric car out there. It wasn't until a few years later when, you know, there was Tesla and there were like other electric cars, and some people like myself decided to be, you know, the fans of the game, and some decided that they just want to just be into Tesla. There's nothing wrong with either. But I think at some point we've crossed this one line that I wish maybe we haven't. Before I bring Eli in, I should probably remind you that this video on this channel is sponsored by Avanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla, all of them. Tesla Model S, Model 3, Model X. All of 3 of my Tesla Model S actually had the Avanex accessories. So use E4Electric as the code for purchases over $100, and you'll get a discount. All right, so without further ado, let me bring Eli in and talk about this. Eli, how you doing, my friend?
You know, Alex, I've had better days. Unfortunately, like earlier today, in fact, it delayed us recording this video a number of times. While at one of those jump parks with my daughter, I broke my foot.
You are officially becoming an old man. You broke your foot at the playground, correct?
Yeah, a little more complicated than that. It involved trampoline and like parkour walls. So it actually was pretty intense, but I wrote a check my body couldn't cash.
All right, well, welcome to the Old Fart Club. But let's talk about, what's happening in the Tesla community. We don't always agree, but a lot of times we do. So let me state my case here, right? And I'm saddened by this because recently Porsche Taycan has, suddenly bursted into flames and burned down someone's garage, and there are only about 160 of Porsche Taycans in the US to start with. And thinking back to the original Tesla fires, where all of the naysayers were saying like, see, Tesla's always just bursts into flames, even though there's like 20 times as many gas cars doing the same at the same time. But what really struck me, lately, and I'm really sad about it, then, as I moderate some of the big Facebook groups for Tesla community, I've noticed that a lot of diehard Tesla fans have been kind of celebrating this, right? They were just kind of rooting against Porsche Taycan. And, the reason I think this is helping the oil industry and whoever is still not sold on this whole electric cars as a future is because nothing will show them and prove them right than showing that, electric cars cannot be done by any brand except for this one small niche brand that makes only, 500,000 cars a year, which is really nothing if you think about it on the grand scheme of things. Nothing will prove them right. We need all other manufacturers to start making good electric cars. We should root for them, because that's the only way electric cars can survive, Tesla can survive. And after all, competition is good for Tesla. Tesla will be a better brand if there are Porsche Taycans out there pushing them and pushing them. For example, there would be no probably plaid mode for
or at the very least, Tesla would. I don't think Elon would have announced plaid mode a year and a half before it was going to ship if it wasn't for the Taycan. Right. I think clearly that product was in development, but they announced it. I mean, they announced it at a time that was probably bad for sales of the Raven Model S and X, because everybody, like, for example, Anwar Beck, co-host of my Tesla Geek Show podcast, he was about to buy a Raven Model X, and then Elon opened his mouth about the plaid mode, so he sat back and said, nope, I'm going to wait another year and a half to upgrade. So for like current sales of Tesla, that didn't help, but it was definitely a response to Taycan. And you're absolutely right. That was a pressure point on Tesla to be better that will ultimately result in a better Tesla product for future Tesla owners. So I completely agree that competition in the marketplace is extremely valuable. And to date, Porsche is the only automaker. I mean, we'll give them, for the moment, we'll ignore the price. Porsche is the only automaker to make something that's got the performance specs that actually challenges Tesla.
Yeah, and so that was my side. Like, that is not the worst. This is essentially shooting yourself in the foot. But shooting the entire movement in the foot is what I'm really kind of upset about. You know, and I've seen this a lot. You know, I mean, you know what the comments to a lot of my videos are. You know, how I'm a Tesla hater because, you know, I either criticize them in some ways, or or Byton is one of my sponsors, or I say something nice about Audi e-tron. Somehow anything that suggests that Tesla is not perfect and that you know, there's another brand that has something, you know better.
Well, I mean, obviously that means you're bought and paid for by big oil, Alex.
Huh? Yeah, that's right.
Obviously that means you're bought and paid for by big oil.
Right. Well, but the thing is like, I mean, we're joking, but a lot of people really believe that because, you know, some of them just do not allow this thought that Tesla is not best at everything at all times. And, you know, you know, we should all be rooting against, for example, brands like Toyota or
Well,
Honda.
here's the thing. Tesla shouldn't be the best at everything at all times. Like, and I think the Taycan is a perfect example. What they made is designed to be a true sports car. What Tesla did is they made a four-door sedan that is perfect for a family, that's incredibly safe, and has supercar performance. There's aspects of what the Taycan does, like for its track performance and things like that, that the Tesla Model S wasn't designed for, and it doesn't need to do. It can serve a market and serve people like me without ever meeting those needs. But let's jump back into what's happening here. So this Porsche Taycan burned up in somebody's garage. Porsche did confirm that, yes, this vehicle they didn't necessarily say it could spontaneously combust, but this vehicle did catch fire and an investigation underway. So, you know, I looked at a number of comments about this. I looked at my feeds. I looked at Facebook. I looked at the Tesla Motors subreddit. I looked at the Tesla Owners Club forums. I looked at other people's videos on it. There was a story by Inside EVs kind of criticizing the community response. And it was interesting, especially about the Inside EVs piece, because like, although I did see like a couple of comments in there that were kind of questionable, most of the response that I saw was a lot of sarcasm about, is Tesla Autopilot going to be blamed for this fire? And a lot of commentary too that, oh, where's the headline news coming from CNBC or CBS or Fox? And that was something that was absolutely a fair point. That Taycan catching fire did not make national news the same way it would have any of the other Tesla fires that have happened the last couple of years. And don't get me wrong, it did get coverage, but it wasn't the most glaring headline news across all of these different reports. Like, it got some coverage, but the gap from where it got covered to what happens if anything goes wrong with the Tesla was significantly different. And that was a point of criticism that I thought was absolutely fair.
Right.
Well, now, when we go into
wait a second before you move on.
Celebrating that it caught fire, I think that is an unfortunate overreaction to a ton of criticism that Tesla has got for any mistake, anything possibly goes wrong. Even so much so that you made a hilarious video about a year or so ago about if Elon Musk became CEO of Starbucks. That there was like one of the jokes that you made in that video is that there was a crash and there was an empty Starbucks cup in the back seat blamed for the accident, right? So like Tesla gets that level of scrutiny. And as a result, it's caused a lot of people to be, anytime somebody else's thing goes bad and there's not that same level of scrutiny, it's like, hey guys, what the heck? You've been putting us through the ringer for a decade. Why aren't you equally critical of these guys?
Well, so but this is where I take, an exception to that. First of all, the answer is very simple, and anybody who understands, I mean, you're a smart guy, like why a Taycan fire did not get as much coverage as a Tesla fire. It's the same reason why if I put out a Tesla related video, it does better than if I put out a Porsche Taycan related video. There's just less interest, right? There's no celebrity spokesperson for Porsche like, Elon Musk is for Tesla. They're not the first to the market. They're not the leader, right? Usually we have presidential debates right now going on. Everyone's hammering on whoever is the leader, right? So whoever wins the poll, then Donald Trump will come in and tweet about him, right? That's just how things work. So yes, Tesla got all of the negative publicity and Porsche is not getting as much negative publicity. That's kind of normal. And I expect people who are even at least leverage intelligence to understand it. But this is where it's getting dangerous.
Well, see, it is normal. And you and me know it's normal, but that doesn't make it any less frustrating for the fans who are actively out there supporting the brand to see that when somebody else has the same problem, it's almost brushed under the rug. And for them, they go to work and people are like, oh, how do you drive that car? It catches on fire. Versus people who are driving a Porsche Taycan probably didn't even see the news story about it catching on fire.
Right. No,
I've had people have those conversations with me like, oh, how do you drive a car with autopilot? Isn't the thing going to kill you? I'm like, right. Come get you in my car. Like, you know what I mean? No, I'm just saying, like, I'm not justifying any of the people who had the response of celebrating the fire. I think that is a bad thing for EVs. What I'm talking about is some of the reaction of people being kind of like, what the heck, is warranted because they've had experiences in their personal life driven by this negative media coverage, myself included, that these other brands are just getting a free pass on. But you're absolutely right. Something that Porsche does not make news the same way Tesla does, because what Porsche or any of the legacy auto manufacturers are doing is not exciting because they're not the ones that are the trailblazers. Tesla is the trailblazer. So for better or worse, anything they do is gets 10 times more clicks, 10 times more coverage. It brings more attention to the company, to the brand, but also to the news channel covering it. And that's one of the things that happens when you're the first one through the wall. You do get a little bit more bloody.
Right. So that's the explanation, right? And I understand the frustration, right? A lot of time, I think I was a Tesla owner at that time when the fire's happening, right? And on one hand, Tesla learned a lesson. If you remember, they actually ended up putting the shield underneath the car, right? Which they didn't have. So that was a positive thing because because they did a major improvement and so I remember being frustrated about it. But frustration, take it out with your therapist. What we shouldn't do, or at least Tesla.
Come on, you and me spend a ton of time on the internet. We know where people channel their frustration, and it's our comment section. It's not their therapist.
That is a therapy. That is a therapy waiting room, I guess, in my but okay. But to be serious, it's one thing to be frustrated. Another thing is saying, hey, how the media should go ahead and cover this Porsche Taycan fire just like they did, the Tesla fires, which is essentially saying that you guys should be just as unfair to Porsche as you were to us, just to even the score. But that's the wrong thing to do, right? Because I'm trying to bring it all back to saying, hey, listen, if there's only just Tesla making profits and great electric cars out there, and other companies are not able to, it is the perfect proof for all of these naysayers and the big oil saying, see, we told you this cannot be done. There's just one tiny little company makes a handful of cars, and that's it. That's all that's possible. So everybody else should just go back to making these gas cars. We're good, right?
There is an important piece of this dynamic to keep in mind. And companies like Biden and Rivian have not started shipping their cars yet in the United States to see this play out. But I want you to watch. I'm going to make a prediction here. When you see incidents like this happen for the new players in the market who've not been doing their branding of trying to make it how they're better than Tesla, who are just showing up and trying to make a great electric vehicle, watch the Tesla community not attack Rivian when something goes wrong with the Rivian. In fact, watch the Tesla community actually kind of come to their defense. You know why? Because Rivian and these guys are going pure electric from the beginning. And two, they never made their marketing story about being how they're better than Tesla. And Porsche and Taycan, in a number of examples of their marketing, they've been trying to frame this thing about how their product is better than Tesla's. And there's been numerous cases where they've had, the way Top Gear covered it was BS. The way Car and Driver covered it was utter BS. They've done all of these different things to try and put their car as like, oh, why would you buy a Tesla when the Porsche Taycan exists? Porsche has definitely tripled down on making it a Tesla versus Porsche narrative. So when something like this happens, it's like, oh yeah, these guys have been coming after us. Pounce. We're going to swing back and punch them in the face and get them a little bit bloody. So watch when these things happen with auto manufacturers who haven't been coming at Tesla like that. And I think you will see the community respond in a completely different way. Especially when it comes to Rivian, watch Tesla owners come to their defense, because that car is loved by the Tesla community.
So I disagree with you in some of this points. So like, you're right. First of all, yes, somehow Rivian is very much loved by the Tesla community, but no one else really. Byton, certainly I know that Byton is really not getting much love. Lucid, Faraday Future, pretty much all of the newcomers are not getting much love except for the Rivian for a Tesla community. That's been my experience, which I think is a shame, right? And yes, I understand they haven't come to the market yet. But unfortunately, I think that somehow Tesla community is not going to be rooting for them too much. And, you know, we'll see. Obviously, I don't want to speak for the community before it actually happens. But what has happened is, again, every time I post a Byton video or even just on Instagram, I get all this Tesla fanboys coming in and saying, like, the screen is too big. This is not going to happen. Chinese company, blah, blah. It's like, wait a second. Why don't you root for a company, a startup company that's going to be making nothing but electric cars? Why not for, like, if you want to stand up there for a cause, why not stand up to companies like Toyota and Honda and Subaru that are definitely not making electric cars? They've many times mentioned how they don't even believe in this, right? They think that electric cars is a phase like puberty or that time that we all like Tom Cruise, right? Like, they think it's going to pass. It's just going to be over, right?
Let's be real. A lot of people who are supporters and fans of Tesla are not necessarily part of the electric vehicle movement.
And
they're
it's a
supporters
shame.
of Tesla. There's a fair number of supporters of Tesla who don't care about the electric vehicle movement. They just love Tesla and the brand and what they're doing. Now, I realize that seems a bit odd since Tesla's entire mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. But there is a fair number of people who are supportive of the brand who really don't care what anybody else does. They just want to see Tesla be successful because they believe in Elon Musk and they believe in Tesla, and they have a much narrower level of support for the brand.
Well, I don't mind that. That's okay. I mean, there are also, you know, there's also Apple where people just root for the Apple. But what I'm saying is that, of course, I mean, I am all for people rooting for Tesla as they should. It is the best car on the market, not just the best electric car. It's the best a car on the market, period. But rooting against another electric car brand, that's where I think they're shooting everybody in the foot, including Tesla. But let me bring something else up since you brought up Elon Musk, right? So Elon has consistently said that he doesn't even care if Tesla at some point cease to exist as long as electric cars become the norm. You know, it become basically the cars that we all drive, right? He kind of repeatedly said that, but once in a while he kind of backpedals on that and takes a swipe at one of the competitors, which just happened recently, right? As you remember, Bill Gates was interviewed by Marques Brownlee, and he was asked about electric car because they were talking about green energy, and he said that Tesla is the leader in the electric car community. They kind of pushed everybody into liking electric cars. But he said that he himself has decided to go with a Porsche Taycan. Now, I don't know if Elon knew that or people know that Bill Gates actually a pretty big Porsche fan. As a matter of fact, he literally was part of the one of the political, strategists who helped pass this a law that called show and display law, because he wanted his Porsche 959 to be imported into the United States. He passed the law so he could drive that car. He's a huge Porsche fan. I don't think he would drive any other car as far as electric cars except for Porsche.
I mean, I don't think he would have even bought an electric car if Porsche didn't make it.
I agree with you.
He very much be a Porsche brand loyalist who happened to end up with an electric car because his brand made one.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is a perfect example of why it's so important that other brands make electric cars, because there are brand loyalists to every brand that if they make an electric variant, there are people that is the only path you're going to get them.
Yeah. No. So, but what happened was, you know, Elon went out there on Twitter and immediately kind of personally attacked Gates a little just for that reason. And, you know, and that...
Well, pull the tweets up, because I know you have them.
Yeah, I have
the... hold on. Newsletter, sent a tweet out, and it was talking about that, like, you know, Bill Gates is a smart guy. And he was kind of criticizing him a little bit too, and the feed goes down a little bit, criticizing him for why Bill Gates brought up range anxiety, because a whole lot of people are going to think that range anxiety is an issue, which really it's not anymore. And, he made a comment about Bill Gates being a really smart guy, and Elon kind of responded effectively saying, well, my conversation with Bill Gates have been underwhelming, which means Elon thinks that maybe Bill Gates isn't that smart of a guy.
That's not how I and a lot of other journalists took this. And this also goes to the history of Elon, who has been kind of aggressive, attacking pretty much anybody who would say anything negative about Tesla, including, for example, Consumer Reports, right? It's funny because we're talking about this week. Consumer Reports actually made Tesla #1 American-made automaker. But whenever Consumer Reports didn't like something that Tesla had, like, for example, reliability, which was true, Tesla attacked them, even though Consumer Reports actually pointed out something that was very wrong with the Model 3 originally. Their braking distance was absolutely not what they've advertised, one of the worst in the industry. They had to issue an update because Consumer Reports noticed that. But my point is that Elon attacks pretty much everybody out there who's trying to be negative. I get attacked every time. As I'm speaking right now, people attacking me in the comment section, right? So the spirit of this...
I mean, to be fair, Elon doesn't attack everybody who's negative, because he could spend the rest of his life doing that for any people who've been negative on Tesla.
True.
But you're absolutely right. Elon has taken opportunities to swing back at people who swung at him, for sure.
So you have to
Bill
admit...
Gates, I mean, my reading of this was he called Bill Gates not that intelligent, which honestly I think is probably even a bigger insult than him just criticizing him. Like, if he had just criticized him for saying, oh, you're dumb for not wanting to get a Tesla and buying a Taycan, I think honestly this is a more significant insult by him saying, I find him underwhelming, right?
Yeah,
he just called this guy not smart.
It was a personal attack, but what I'm saying is, like, one way or another, however the burn really went, but what I'm saying is that, why attack somebody who decided to pick another brand over yours while praising you? And in this case, again, I agree with you, and from what I know of Bill Gates' love for Porsche, he would only buy an electric car from Porsche no matter how wonderful other brands are, and he admitted that Tesla is a great brand. What I'm saying is that, at this point, it kind of comes from Elon once in a while, and I sometimes would even blame the Tesla fanboys kind of modeling their behavior after that. But aren't they all, including Elon, shooting all of us in the foot as far as the bigger picture is concerned of electric car revolution and hopefully disappearance of big oil, or at least transformation of a big oil into the big renewable energy industry?
In the case of Elon's response to this tweet regarding Bill Gates, I don't think that has any impact on the electric revolution. However, people who are actually celebrating the fact that the Porsche Taycan caught fire, like truly joyous that this car had something bad happen to it, yes, I think that is absolutely hurting the electric vehicle movement and plays into the hands of big oil for sure.
Yeah, I think both is unfortunate. I really wish that Elon would have maybe came out and said, I respect Bill Gates' love for the brand, and it's great to be brand loyal. I commend him for picking an electric car over a gas car, because obviously Bill Gates can buy any car. Thank you for mentioning that on the air. Thank you for being an advocate for green energy.
You just said more words than Elon Musk has ever put into a single tweet, by the way.
I understand, but I'm just saying one of them would do, and then saying, hey, maybe, he could have picked a strategy like they did with Joe Rogan that worked so brilliantly, right? You can say, hey man, why don't you try my thing? I mean, if you like it, I'll give it to you for free, or buy it. Obviously, the money is not an issue. Instead of attacking him. I think there's a better way to go about it. But now that people see that, Elon is attacking Porsche, and then his fans are attacking Porsche and rooting against another electric car model, that just overall looks really bad for all of us, as far as people looking outside and big oil going like, oh my God, great, they're fighting now. And they're still like 1% of entire market share. That's what's making me really sad.
Look, I totally get it. And I would say in general, Tesla fans being critical of Porsche is completely fair, the way that Porsche has been extremely critical, misleading, and even lied in some of their marketing about Tesla. However, celebrating a battery fire from any brand is not a good thing to do.
All right. Well, we agree on that. By the way, I'm not a fan of Porsche Taycan. By the way, I think Tesla Model S, in every single way, of course, besides customer service, is better. But as far as cars are concerned, is every single way better. I don't even
And a
think.
lot of people don't remember when they first released the Taycan. What did they call it originally? Mission E. The
Yeah.
Mission E concept. I was actually on this show, being like, "Man, this could be a future car in my garage." And then when they kind of rolled back the design to not be quite as futuristic, they kind of lost me. The price point lost me. But I'll tell you what, the biggest thing that lost me was that they weren't able to solve the performance that was needed with a single gear. The fact that they had to make this a transmission car with 2 gears just to keep up with the Model S, I was like, you know what? Nope, this isn't for me. Maybe in the future they'll come to a design that's more futuristic. They'll figure out the single gear thing like Tesla did and make it something I'm interested in. But originally, on initial concept, I was really excited for this car. So I was somebody that, my opinion on that changed over time. But as big a fan of Tesla as I am, I was initially like open to buying this thing.
Yes, and I remember. And by the way, just to be fair, again, I just want to be fair that the hypercars, the electric hypercars like Rimac and Pininfarina, both use 2 gear solution as well. So it wasn't just Porsche. But I'm against all of that.
But the next gen Roadster doesn't, right? And at the price point
Right.
of the Taycan, I have a discount on a Roadster that makes my Roadster cheaper than the Turbo S. So I will just buy the next gen Roadster if I'm going to spend that much money on a car.
I'm with you. I think transmission and gearbox should be gone from any future cars. They should figure out how to do this with a single gear. So we're on the same. I just want to be fair that the Porsche is not the only one who kind of cheated against that, and it is a solution for some hypercars that are on the market this year. So
and you know what? For a hypercar, I think that's actually less of an issue. Because those hypercars, I don't know if you know many people who own Lambos and Ferraris. These cars very rarely get even to 5,000 miles. These cars are typically not driven. They're showpieces that get driven around occasionally. They don't get tens of thousands or 50,000 miles on them.
Yeah.
So you're not going to end up in a transmission replacement for a hypercar. The market that's serving, it's a showpiece. It's like a Rolex. Like, this is a status symbol that you take out occasionally. But for a car that I'm going to drive, like if I were to buy a Taycan or like my Model S, I'm going to put 50,000 miles on it or 100,000 miles on it the time I own it. I don't want to deal with a transmission replacement in an electric car.
I absolutely agree with you. So we're on the same page there. But all right. Well, listen, I got to tell you, I really hope that the vocal minority of these diehard fans, call them Tesla fanboys, whatever you want to call them, the ones that are leaving the comments right now, I really hope they see a bigger picture. I really hope that they see that competition for Tesla will make their cars better and will give them choices. And also, I want them to understand that if someone's out there is going to buy a car, I'd rather have them buy Taycan or the BMW i3 that I personally don't like than to buy a Toyota Corolla or a Subaru that are all still fully gas cars, supporting the companies that are still supporting fully gas powered cars, right? So I really hope the attitude can change, and I hope that they realize that it's to their advantage for the entire industry to start moving towards electric cars. And by the way, if these big companies are not going to make attempts like Taycan, Tesla won't survive no matter how many cars you buy from them, because they're still a tiny little manufacturer. And I
don't think it's an issue of Tesla surviving. I think Tesla has very clearly made a market for themselves, that if nobody else made an electric vehicle, Tesla would be fine. But if the other manufacturers jump into it, we will never have an all-electric world and start helping make progress towards a place where we have clean, breathable air and actually start meeting our reduction in CO2 targets.
I stand corrected on that. I agree with you, actually. So, all right. Well, listen, I'm sure we'll have this conversation 1,000 times. I'm going to go and call my therapist right now, as I'm going to start reading the comment section of this video. Now, I probably should have warned people that we're going to, that this video might contain some of this information they might find very, very upsetting to them. So they probably should have hidden their children and dogs, but oh well. Listen, thanks for the conversation, man. I always appreciate it. I know we sometimes on kind of a different sort of position on Tesla, but I think we're always on the same page as far as the electric cars are concerned.
I think so too, man. I think this was a great segment, and I hope the comments aren't too brutal.
Yeah, well, don't get your hopes up. So listen, before we go, of course, tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know some exciting things are happening, and of course, let's talk about these babies right here as well.
Yeah, so I've been working on the Tesla Geek Show. We're actually now about to incorporate video into the podcast. We're going to be on the Tesla Geeks YouTube channel. We're going to start deploying our video there. I'm now full-time as a content creator, which is a bit terrifying, but I'm working my way through it. So I'm producing a lot of videos.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is a terrifying world, man.
It is.
When a video doesn't get views and that could affect, the bread you buy the next day, that's pretty weird.
It is. Get used to it.
Being a content creator, is not until you get to somebody who's wildly successful, it's not glamorous.
Not even a little.
Hard grind. And you question yourself all the time and wonder why things aren't working or why people didn't like your thumbnail or they didn't watch more than a minute and a half of your video. It's crazy. It's a wild place. Yeah. But I'm now making a couple videos a week on my Tesla adventure. I'm getting prepped right now. I'm building my YouTube studio out for a show I'm going to do that's focusing on like updates and news and fun things going on in space. And of course, my ultimate passion project of all time, the Adventures of Starman comic book series, which we have 2 episodes out. Big Oil Strikes Back is the most recent one. And actually on Monday, we are starting production on the untitled episode 3. I can't tell you guys a lot about it.
I did not know that.
It's going to be about 100 pages and it's going to be a 2-part episode.
I did not know that. I'm looking forward to that. I hope this time I can get my copy a little bit earlier because I recently got this one. It looks awesome, man, and the graphics look amazing. And I know you got so much feedback from the community. I'm so and welcome to being a full-time creator. And I really hope your channel does well. I wanted to do better than mine because I think like some of the videos you already put out in the last few days, I was like, damn, this is a good video. You pointed out that Tesla Model S had a 390-mile range before even Elon announced it on Twitter. I don't think people know that.
Yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't believe that I discovered that as quickly as I did, but I pay really close attention to what's going on in the Tesla community, guys. And that's why I really love to get on here and do this show on your show, Alex, because like I watch what people are talking about on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, in the Facebook groups, on Reddit, even on TikTok, for Christ's sake. So I really have a really good pulse of what people care about and what people are excited about and how people are feeling. And it's really an honor to be able to come on your show and help represent their voice.
Hey man, I love having you, and I think there are a lot of people who actually don't really like me particularly, but they watch this channel when you appear on this channel or Tom comes on. So I love having you guys, and I love having a different opinion and different perspective. So thanks so much, and I will see you next week. I hope your leg feels a little better next week.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, guys. Well, we already did all the plugs, but I absolutely love having Eli on the show. This is a hot topic, I have to say. I obviously get a lot of heat from not always loving Tesla, though I can make a video like this where I'll get a lot of comments. Just look in the comment section, right? Alex, I'm unsubscribing, you're a Tesla hater. And the next day I'll make a video about how Tesla is the best. As a matter of fact, when you're watching this video, the video before this literally called Tesla #1 and being the best car, right? But they don't watch those videos. They'll watch this video and get all of this kind of hate. But I don't care. Personally, I don't care. But it makes me sad because I really want all Tesla fans to be also electric car fans. If not like, but then at least support other brands like Porsche Taycan. Even just like I said, I may not be personally the biggest fan, but I'm supporting them because it's still better than them either, keep producing the gas cars or giving their market share to other brands like Toyota and Honda that are making those gas cars and making no excuses for it, and really very little effort into creating electric cars. By the way, I'm going to be traveling in the next few weeks, as I've been doing a lot. So if you want to follow me on my journey, follow me on Instagram under E4Electric. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, this would be a perfect time. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button, and of course the bell notification icon, so don't miss anything moving forward. All right, am I looking forward to your comments? I don't know about this one. I usually say this, but we'll see about this. But we'll definitely read them. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.